So many years have passed. Many are waiting eagerly to know how Hunter x Hunter story follows after the anime has ended. They are waiting for anime to adapt new arcs and continue the anime, which unfortunately for us is not gonna happen soon. I know it's hard to accept the fact, but it is the reality, guys. We never know what will happen. But still, the probability of Yoshihiro Togashi continuing the manga is looking very low right now. So I thought, why not explain what's there in the manga, especially in the Dark Continent arc, which is the following arc after the anime has ended. So just sit tight, grab your tea and popcorns. Wait, that's a weird combination. Okay, anyway, grab anything you want and just listen to this exciting story that follows after the anime of Hunter x Hunter has ended. Firstly, we need to see what is Dark Continent. So the world of Hunter x Hunter we know is actually some islands in the middle of a gigantic lake. Of course, these islands are freaking huge. After all, they are all continents in their own right. And that's where all of our story has taken place so far. Everything outside of this lake is called as Dark Continent. Thus the name for the arc. Anyway, this Dark Continent is filled with diseases and monsters. Basically a fight against Mother Nature. To reach the Dark Continent, one must sail through the seas of known world and then across the Lake Mobius. Only a handful of people have attempted this dangerous voyage so far, and even fewer has managed to survive. The Black Whale is a class of large transport vessel that is built for Kakin's expedition to the new continent. The Dark Continent is an unexplored region of Hunter x Hunter world that is vastly bigger than the known, explored areas of Hunter x Hunter world. It is filled with dangerous creatures and unpredictable environment, but it also houses incredible minerals and materials like rice that extends your life, rocks that generates vast quantity of electricity, rare alchemical plants, etc. We find out in the manga that the Chimera Ant were actually creatures that were originated in the Dark Continent but got swept away into the mainland of the world. Due to the thrill and excitement of this, as well as the possibility of gaining new things and riches, in the past many have tried going to this Dark Continent. Over 99% of these people died there, and out of this less than 1% people that came back always brought back something called as calamity that threatened to wipe out the humanity itself. There are 5 known calamities till now. The first one is Bryon, an unknown species that is labeled as botanical weapon. The second one is Ai, a gaseous life form, which is labeled as codependence of desire, the gaseous life form Ai. Eleuca nanica is most likely an Ai. The third one is Zobae disease, a sickness in which the victim cannot die and is forced into a zombie state. The fourth one is Hellbell, a two-headed snake that causes its victims to become homicidal. The fifth one is Pap, a human-feeding beast that eats or keeps humans as pets. Recently, however, the Kakin Empire, having avoided signing the treaty, has decided they want to voyage to the Dark Continent. And the V5, which is the government of the Hunter x Hunter world, is concerned with this, since Kakin has done everything to surpass their restrictions. Not only that, but they have also hired Beyond Netero, Isaac Netero's son, who has already been to the New World and has returned as one of the survivors. And Beyond has plans to take an unexplored route this time, increasing the chances of danger, even possibly introducing a new calamity. Thus, the V5 tried to stop them by doing 2 things. The first one is ordering the Hunter Association to capture Beyond. The second one is including them in the V5 as the new leader country, thus becoming now the V6. These things were done in order not to stop the voyage but to supervise it. Also, since Kakin's plan for the Dark Continent are for colonization, the V5 decides to trick them by giving them an island in the far ocean boundaries, basically in the waters closest to the frontier of the Dark Continent, and making them believe that they have reached and conquered the Dark Continent, when in reality the real expedition would begin later. Beyond Netero, the Isaac Netero's son, then turns himself in order to comply with the V5, but of course with a plan of his own. According to Jin, 4 things are needed in order to be able to enter the Dark Continent. These requirements have been met and the voyage is happening. Isaac Netero himself went to the Dark Continent once with Zeke Zoldiak and an unknown woman, but he left immediately, saying that he sought the strength of a man, while the Dark Continent was simply nature gone wild. As I said before, the government of Hunter x Hunter, which is V5, forbids any traveling to the Dark Continent. But in the Dark Continent arc, The nation of the Kakin, through various loopholes, is able to plan an expedition to the Dark Continent with the support of Netero's son Beyond, who has gone to the continent before. When Netero was alive, he told the Zodiacs that they must go to the Dark Continent to explore it. While on the other side, he forbids his son to go to the Dark Continent while he was alive. But he knew that once he died, Beyond would immediately try to go back to this Dark Continent. This is how the expedition of the Dark Continent starts. And what does it add to the story of Hunter x Hunter? Actually, a lot. The first one is the world building. It expands the Hunter x Hunter world in a great way. The second important thing is it continues lingering plot lines. The spider troop is brought back in the story as well as Kurapika. And there are also some important events that we need to take a look at which are not related to the Dark Continent. So let's take a look at them now. The first important event that takes place is Hisoka vs Chrollo. So Chrollo prepared for a fight against Hisoka. He chooses the location and collects abilities in order to take him down. And at the end of this fight, he succeeds, and at the end of this encounter, we have two things to take into account. On one hand, Chrollo wants the riches of Black Whale, and thus infiltrates it. It is unknown yet if any other spiders are in it or not. And on the other side, we have Hisoka, who decides that he wants to kill all spiders, and starts doing so with Kotopi and Shalnark. Then another important point is Beyond's plan. Beyond has turned himself in order for negotiations between V5 and Kakin to go smoothly, as well as to receive necessary requirements to enter Dark Continent with no problem. This team is composed of specially trained people, including Pariston Hill. His plan is basically waiting for the voyage to go midway through the Dark Continent and then have his team break him out and explore by themselves, which is very risky and which might bring another calamity to the world. Then there's another important thing is Jin's plan. Jin is all for the exploration of Dark Continent. He supports it and wants to explore it for himself. Being very well trained in both Nen and knowledge, he has even started his support for Beyond. However, he has a problem with Pariston, who he believes just want to create havoc for the fun of it. Thus, he infiltrated Beyond's team and told them that he wants to be treated as number 2 in this voyage, only below Beyond. Not to really control the things, but to strip Pariston out of his position and rank, and also to keep an eye on him and to be able to stop whatever he has planned. To be recognized as number 2, he has offered an extraordinary amount of money to each team member and stated that whoever takes this money has already accepted him as number 2, which is a very smart plan to actually go on to the number 2 and have people accept you. The another important thing is Kurapika's plan. Kurapika was called to be a Zodiac by the association under Leorio's request. To convince him to join, he was given information on the man who possesses the remaining eyes of his clan, who is the 4th Kakin prince. Thus, he joins the Zodiacs and helps out with the Hunter exams and checks out on the other Zodiacs for traitors who may be helping out Pariston and Beyond with their plans to escape. And this traitor turns out to be Monkey Zodiac, and he creates a plan with Mizai Storm to stop him before arriving at the new continent. In regards to his new plan to recover the remaining eyes, he has infiltrated the Black Whale as 14th Kakin's Prince Verbal Bodyguard and is currently in this duty as one of the latest chapters. He's waiting for the chances to get close to that prince and then convince him to give the eyes back to him. And then there's another important point, which is very important actually, is Kakin's succession war. Now what is Kakin's succession war? Kakin's king, Natsubi Hui-Go-Ro, the king responsible for this voyage, is looking for his future successor to the throne. This successor will be winner of the succession war, basically a survival event in which the last one standing is considered the winner. The participants this time around are none other than his sons, of course, who are also called princes even if they are women's. And this event is taking place in the Black Whale while en routing to the new continent. Traditionally, each prince is given a named beast to protect them. This is the little egg that we being see put out in the 4th prince's mouth after offering his blood. The voyage then begins, and as soon as the whale departs, the succession war begins. Thus, each prince is trying to eliminate the other prince very subtly, sending guards of their own to protect their siblings, but in reality keeping an eye and using every opportunity to eliminate them, with the first 3 princes having an advantage and a huge bloodlust. Out of this 14 princes, one has already died, and we are of course waiting to see how this thing turns out and who becomes the new prince as well as what else happens in the Black Whale. not to mention what stories and dangers are awaiting them in the Dark Continent. Of course, we all are waiting for the Hunter x Hunter manga and anime to continue, but as I said in the start of this video, it doesn't look like it will start anytime soon. And all we can do is hope for the best, hope for Togashi's health, that he will recover fast as soon as possible and give us new exciting chapters of Hunter x Hunter manga. What are your thoughts about this Dark Continent arc? Let me know about your thoughts in the comment section down below, and if you enjoyed this video, just don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel because I post daily anime content about top 10 top 5 listings, anime reviews, recommendations, news theories and all sort of anime content on daily basis. So if you enjoyed, please subscribe, and that was it, and I will see you in the next one. Sayonara.